Residents of McCook Lake neighborhood in North Sioux City, South Dakota, still processing the damage that was left behind by last week's flooding. And some are now wondering whether or not that damage could have been prevented.
Yeah, KELOLAND's Lauren Solich takes a look at the decades-old mitigation plan that was put into action. And for the first time, we're going to hear from the city of North Sioux City.
Obviously, this was a catastrophe. In that McCook Lake was devastated. It's a tragedy, and we all feel for our neighbors and friends and family who are on McCook Lake. But in terms of the mitigation effort, it did work in the sense that it protected the rest of North Sioux City and neighboring communities.
That mitigation plan was the creation of a levee at Exit 4 on Interstate 29 to the east of McCook Lake. Residents KELOLAND News spoke to following the flooding say water was rushing in within minutes of the levee being created. Officials say McCook Lake would have taken in water with or without the levee.
We saw obviously devastation at McCook Lake. There would have been water and flooding at McCook Lake anyways. If we hadn't built the levee, there still would have been flooding there. They had taken some mitigation efforts in the past to prepare for flooding, but I don't believe anybody could have ever prepared for the amount of water that came down in that 24-hour period.
Julie Burhoop with the McCook Lake Association doesn't entirely disagree.
It was coming in from both sides. In my opinion, that probably made the flooding at McCook Lake worse because it did flow in faster. There was more water. But in my heart, I really believe that water would have come up at McCook Lake anyway. It was way faster and more furious than any one single lot or drainage ditch or spillway could have handled, regardless if water was diverted at Exit 4 or not.
Some officials do recognize the plan had some failures, though.
What the plan was out here is earlier, a couple years ago, they took some homes out in the hopes that if this ever occurred, the water would follow that path. And when it started, it actually did do what it was supposed to, was following that path. But the deluge of water and the amount of water that came at us, it wouldn't have mattered what you would have done. We couldn't stop it.
Do you think going forward it might be something that you guys maybe re-look at because of the damage that happened at McCook Lake, or?
It's possible, but we don't know. Right now the effort is, hey, we have to keep people safe. We have to keep people alive. We have to rebuild the critical infrastructure so people can have water and sewer and power. I'm sure some of those conversations, or they could come up in the future.
In North Sioux City, Lauren Solich, KELOLAND News.
One of the biggest frustrations for residents on McCook Lake is the lack of communication, they say, that they dealt with during the flooding. We're going to get a breakdown of that in tonight's Eye on KELOLAND at 10.